Okay, here we are back again with Chapter 3, Consumer Motivation and Personality. So there's a couple of things that, a couple terms I want to talk about before we get into it. Needs are a circumstance or things that are wanted or required, so it's a need is a state of felt deprivation. Personality is the inner psychological characteristics that both determine and reflect how we think and act. So everyone's got a personality. There's all sorts of different personality theories. We'll talk a little bit about uh, um, we'll talk a little bit about different personality traits in this chapter. And then finally brand personification. So it's this idea that when uh, consumers attribute human traits or characteristics to a brand personality provides some sort of emotional identity for a brand, and it produces sentiments and feelings towards the brand. So, for example, when you think of uh, um, Planters Peanuts, you might think of, Mr. Peanut and, fun and party. Or when you think of, what Procter & Gamble has a product, Mr. Clean, um, it's not a person, but you think of this, cleaning machine that's out there. So it's when a brand has a personality, style, class, economy, whatever it may be. Okay, so there's the idea of the motivation process, which is important. So essentially, there's some sort of, when we have these unfilled needs, right, and there's some sort of tension that's produced. And then as a consequence of that, there's some sort of desire to buy something. And then, the behavior is to buy it, and then you move on. Okay, so we talk about needs and goals. So there's physiological needs, psychological needs, that, physical needs and emotional needs. And then there's some goals that are just generic to a product and then also product specific. Okay, so again, these are things that we talk about in Marketing 1, that there's some sort of need arousal that occurs. And then there's something internally that happens to us that we're interested in a stimuli. Then we go through this process, and then we go out and buy things. And then we select our goals. Okay, so needs and goals, they're interdependent. Needs are really never fully satisfied. And, as one need is fulfilled, we go to another, we move on to another need. So, if we're frustrated, if we don't feel that we've achieved our goal, and then there are ways that we defend ourselves, that it's some sort of behavioral activity that handle that to address that frustration. Okay, so there's a variety of different defense mechanisms. You can read through those. We talk about this a lot in organizational behavior as well. Aggression. You might lash out at a salesperson or something like that. If you rationalize what it is that you're looking for, you're trying to make the most of the situation. Describe why you did it. You can go through it and look at those. Okay, and then there's psychogenic needs. Again, these are things that are in our psychology that we're interested in. That people want to achieve things. We want to have some sort of level of success. We want to be the center of attention for exhibition, that kind of thing. Okay, Maslow's hierarchy of needs used in management as well as in marketing, and marketers will respond to that. So, for example, social needs. You'll see pictures of people and enjoying something with lots of friends around, and say, if I drink this wine, then I'll have lots of friends around too. If I chew this gum, I'll get a date. Okay, so you want to think about some types of products that are related to Maslow's need hierarchy. So safety might be security, home security system or something like that, or sometimes you might have the home security system and social needs with the home security system with protecting the family. Okay, so there's also this idea of different types of this, we call it the trio of needs. It's McClelland's need theory. power, affiliation, or achievement. Power is this idea that you can change someone's life or have a positive impact on someone's life. Affiliation is a sense of belonging, and achievement is people who are very goal-oriented and and want to show their success. I drive a fancy car, so that must mean I'm successful. So how do you determine what it is that people are, that are motivating people? Why are people going to buy this product? Sometimes it's self-reports, qualitative research. It's basically research in general. It's asking people what is it that they're interested in. Okay, so again, it's very psychologically based. That we have these unconscious needs that will motivate us and motivate our personality. And Sigmund Freud believed that all our drives were somehow biological or sexually based. Again, that really falls into the social category. Okay, personality, inner psychological characteristics that both determine and reflect how we think and act. So mannerisms, openness to experience, agreeableness, that kind of thing. That's personality. Again, there's lots of research on personality. Okay, so facets of personality, essentially that it reflects people's individual differences. Generally speaking, personality is pretty consistent and enduring. It may change due to a major life event, death of a loved one, change in jobs, illness, some great achievement, but generally personality is pretty consistent, and our personalities are formed at a very young age. Okay, so there are theories, again, these theories of personality. That there's the Freudian theory, we talked a little bit about that, and it's the idea of the conscious and the subconscious that are constantly working together to encourage us to buy things. So, Freud believed that there were essentially three systems for people responding to the id, the superego, and the ego. The id is the primitive drives. Superego drives individuals to fulfill their need in a socially acceptable function, and the ego is the internal monitor that balances the need in the superego, which all sounds just like a lot of talk. For those of you who have taken psychology, you might be familiar with some of these things. But again, it plays into, and there are a variety of theories. These are the ones that really marketers seem to think that have the most influence on consumer behavior. That and this idea that social relationships are very important to us. So also this idea of innovativeness, there are everyone has, it's a motivational factor, and everyone has different levels of innovativeness based on the personality. Dogmatism is this idea of rigidity. Social character is whether you're inward directed or outward directed. Need for uniqueness is you need to be the only one with this or the anyway, so need for uniqueness, you need to be the only one with it. Are you a thrill seeker? Do you like a lot of novelty? Do you need to, do you have a great need to think about things? That kind of stuff. Okay, other personality is this idea of visualizers versus verbalizers. This idea of a visualizer is someone who process images. Visualizers are receptive to pictorial images, and verbalizers prefer promotional messages containing a lot of written and text. Materialism are people who like objects, and ethnocentrism is people who are very dedicated to their own culture. And then you can just take a look at some of this in terms of brand personalities. Okay, that's a quick look, and thanks for listening.